Please raise your hands. Solemnly swear all the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated, sir. And sir, would you tell us your name and spell your last name for us? Excuse me.
My name is Sopa Princewill. Last name Princewill, Princewill.
How do you spell your first name?
Sopa is Sopa.
Just pull the mic a little closer to you, Mr. Princewill. Thanks. How were you employed?
Pardon me?
How were you employed?
I was employed to be the resident manager of the building in which Jeffrey used to live.
Okay. And is that located at 924 North 25th Street?
Positive.
Yes. And is that in the city and county of Milwaukee?
That's correct.
Okay. And during the course of that employment, did you regularly come in contact with the person you've mentioned, Jeffery Dahmer?
Yes, I can recollect a few occasions when I had come in contact with him.
Okay. And is he seated in the courtroom now?
I stipulate there's identification.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Princewill, you came here from Nigeria in the 70s, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and you hold a bachelor's degree in business administration from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee?
That's right.
And the way you know Jeff Dahmer is he lived in the apartment building that you were the manager of, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, was Mr. Dahmer committed to a lease in this building?
Yes, I remember he was in the building before I got employed there. Mm-hmm. And at the end of his first year, he renewed his lease with me.
Okay. And does that lease last for a year?
Yes, the lease runs for 1 year.
Okay. And it's renewable on May of each year?
Yes.
Okay. When you first started your job, when did you first start working in the Oxford Apartments?
I remember I was hired to be manager at the building in July 10 of 1990.
Okay. And do you recall your first contact with Mr. Dahmer after you were hired to be manager of the building?
Yes, I believe the first contact I had with him was sometime in July, towards the end of the July.
In 1990?
In 1990, when he asked me to put a lock on his mailbox.
And did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember anything else about that contact?
I believe he was very grateful that I put a lock for him.
Did you have any contact with him in August of that year?
Yes, in August of 1990, we had complaints from residents about the smell that's going through the building.
Did you talk to Mr. Dahmer about that?
Yes, I did. I called him to my office and discussed with him, and he told me that he was sorry that it happened, but his freezer broke, and he had about $150 worth of meat getting spoiled.
When you talked with him, did he appear nervous or uncomfortable?
Well, while we were speaking, he did not appear abnormal. He was quite normal.
Did you then go up to his apartment to look in that freezer?
Yes, I decided to verify that it was the freezer.
And did you go up to his apartment then?
That's right.
What apartment number was that?
It's the apartment number 213.
And when you went into that apartment, did you notice a bad smell?
I didn't notice any bad smell when I got into the apartment, but because he said it was his deep freezer that broke, he opened it for me, and then I took a look into it.
And what did you see when you looked into it?
I saw normal grocery kind of meat on
Like
top.
chicken?
I believe it looked like steak.
And was it wrapped in a store wrapper?
That's right.
Did he explain why he hadn't cleaned out this freezer when the meat went bad?
Well, he complained about working too hard in the night and that he gets tired.
Did you offer to do anything at that point?
Yes, I was very concerned about the smell, and I offered to help him clean it.
And did you do that?
No.
What happened?
He told me not to worry about it. He will take care of it.
And did he take care of that?
I believe he did, because the smell actually subsided after that.
In your building, does the management regularly bring in exterminators or pest control?
Yes, we have regular spraying of apartments against pests.
Can you estimate how frequently you'll have pest control come in and spray the apartments in a given year?
Normally, we call in the exterminator once in a month. And the building has 4 sections of about 12 apartments each. And he comes to spray one section every month. And then we rotate.
So would that be about 3 times a year it would hit each apartment?
Yeah, likely, very likely, 3 times.
Did they ever go into Mr. Dahmer's apartment?
No.
Why not?
Well, normally when it's time for the pest control guy to come in, I usually send a notice to every apartment that would be sprayed. And I remember once when I was in the section where apartment 213 was, Jeff didn't accept the service. He told me that he will be using borax acid.
Did that seem like a reasonable explanation to you?
Well, it was in the point of their operating costs for the business. You know, there is a charge to every apartment that's sprayed, and so if he doesn't want it, then we are going to save some money. So I thought that was reasonable.
Was there ever any complaint about pests coming out of Mr. Dahmer's apartment, that he wasn't taking care of it?
No.
Okay. In your time as manager, did any other tenant reject bringing in pest control into their apartment?
Not that I can remember.
While you were a manager, you suggested earlier that there came a time when Jeff Dahmer was given the opportunity to renew his lease.
Yes.
About when did that take place?
Well, his lease was going to run 1 year from the time he got into the apartment. And our company usually send out lease renewal papers 2 months ahead.
And
so it should be around March.
And was the company at that time willing to renew his lease?
Yes.
And was Mr. Dahmer willing to renew his lease at that time?
Yes, I took the papers to him, and at the first time I went, I didn't get him, so I tried to locate him, and he came to the office and signed his renewal.
When people renew their lease with your company, does the management offer any services as a premium for renewing the lease?
Yes, the company offers one of two things. The resident will either choose to get his apartment repainted or the carpet cleaned.
And did you offer either of those services to Mr. Dahmer?
Normally, I did.
And what was his reply?
He didn't want his carpet cleaned or his apartment repainted.
Did he tell you why?
He didn't tell me why, but he said he usually likes to clean his carpet by himself.
Did you ever see him do that?
I remember seeing him once when he got the cleaning machine that he used.
Did any other tenant reject those services?
No, not that I can remember.
You already told us about confronting Mr. Dahmer about the odor problem in August of 1990. Did there come another time when you had to talk to Mr. Dahmer about this?
Yes, I remember.
When was that?
This was late May of 1991.
And how did you become that there was an odor problem? How did you find that out? How did you become aware of that?
There was a resident, a potential resident, who had wanted to rent an apartment directly above from him. And I had gone to set up the apartment against the 1st of June, but I couldn't stay to set it up because of the odor.
What did you do when you had problems just staying in that apartment?
Well, I knew that the odor was coming from his apartment because we had already known that before, so I had to start looking for him.
Was it similar to the odor you had noticed in August of 1990?
Yes, it was similar, but it's much stronger.
Did you ever find Mr. Dahmer at that time?
Yes, I did, and I asked him, excuse me, I asked him what's the problem again, because I told him the lady moving upstairs, you know, is not going to be able to do so because of the smell, and that he's messing up our business.
When you confronted him, was he angry with you?
No, he wasn't angry with me.
Did he appear nervous or upset or anxious when you confronted him?
No.
How did he explain the odor?
Well, he told me that it was his fish tank. He has claimed that 2 fishes had died in his fish tank, and he hadn't dumped them, and they started smelling.
Did you go into his apartment at that time?
Yes, I did.
And did he show anything to you to suggest that it had anything to do with his fish tank?
Well, I was curious what the smell was all about, and he said, oh, it might be the plastic container that he had in his closet. It's about nearly 3 feet high, about 1.5 feet in diameter.
Did you go and
as
look
a lid.
Okay. Did you go and look at that plastic container?
Yeah, I was right in the apartment when he said that it might be the plastic container. So I moved nearer to see, and I said, where is it? He opened it, and I looked in, and a very strong chemical smell hit me. So I had to move quickly backward and told him that must go.
Was there anything in that container?
There was nothing in the container, but it has very strong chemical odor that hit me.
Did you ever see him throw out that container?
Well, when I told him that must go, I left the apartment, and about 5 to 10 minutes later, he called me and showed it to me in the dumpster.
And is that dumpster located outside of your apartment building?
Yes, the dumpster is located in the back of the building.
Did the smell go down then?
Not quite. The smell was still there, and I didn't know what it was, but I was worried that if he can, excuse me, if he can clean up his apartment, I was thinking that he's not a good resident.
Other than the smell in the apartment, did the apartment appear to be disorderly in any way?
No, I would think that his apartment was very neat compared to most others that I've ever got into.
Did there come a third time when you confronted Mr. Dahmer about the smell coming from his apartment?
Yes, I remember around the second week of July 1991.
And what did you tell him?
At that time, I told him that if he cannot clean up, then I would think he has to go, because that's the last time I want to tolerate the smell.
Did he get angry with you?
No, he wasn't.
Did he seem anxious or nervous or upset in any way?
No.
Did he explain what caused the odor on that day?
Well, he didn't explain anything at that point, but he kept promising that he would take care of it.
When he was making these promises, was he being pleasant with you?
Yes.
Did you at any time call your management office regarding Mr. Dahmer's tenancy at 924 North 25th Street?
Yes, I remember this was after my third encounter with him. I had called because I warned him that that was the last time I was going to tolerate the smell. I did call the main office to put that in writing to him.
At some point, did Mr. Dahmer talk with you about a security system he was planning on installing in his apartment?
Yes, I remember. That was after the first confrontation. I remember this should be around either September or October of 1990. He had called me up and asked me whether he needed the permission of the company to put a security system.
And did he need that permission?
I told him he didn't need a permission to do that.
As part of that discussion, did he request to put extra locks on his hallway door?
He didn't put any lock on his hallway door, but I remember he has signs of alarm system on the door.
Does your management company permit tenants to put extra locks on their outside doors, the ones facing the hallway?
Some of them did, but I can remember there was none on his outside door.
At some point, you had a discussion with Mr. Dahmer in a McDonald's restaurant located near your apartment building. Is that correct?
That's right.
When did that take place?
I remember this would be around the first week of July,
1991?
1991, right.
What did you and Mr. Dahmer talk about there?
Well, I had wanted to talk to him to know if he could be a business partner of mine.
And do you recall what that conversation was about? What sort of business were you in? Or are you in?
Well, I'm a real estate broker, and I sometimes rehabilitate properties. At the time, I had one on hand, so I was looking for somebody who might be able to be a partner.
And you thought that Jeffrey Dahmer would be an appropriate partner for you at that time?
Well, I figured that I could talk to him to see whether he will be one.
And did you ever decide to go into business with Mr. Dahmer?
No, I didn't, because we were not talking about the partnership. I was explaining to him my experience with the property.
But did you ever get to the point where you actually were discussing going into business together or not?
No.
Okay. How many times would you say you were in Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment during the course of your managing the property at 924 North 25th Street?
Yeah, I have been in his apartment at least 3 times.
In your experience, was that apartment generally kept in good order?
Yes, it was a pretty clean apartment.
Compared to other apartments you've been in at that same address, how did Mr. Dahmer's apartment rate?
But it is probably the neatest apartment I've seen.
Did anything about it strike you as odd or unusual, other than the things that caused the odor?
No.
In all the times you spoke with him, did you ever believe he was having hallucinations?
No, I quite understand him.
Did you ever think he was hearing voices?
No.
Were you able to carry on a regular conversation with him?
Yes, I did.
Did he ever strike you as incoherent?
No.
Did he ever strike you as irrational?
No.
Did you ever think that he was out of touch with reality in any way?
No.
Based on your observations of his manner, demeanor, actions, and conversations you had with him, what impression did he leave on your mind?
I thought he was a nice guy at the time.
In fact, you were willing to ask him to be your business partner, is that correct?
That's right.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Mr. Princewill, there is a lot of things as far as dates are concerned, of times that you were in the apartment. I'd like to go through those with you if I could, starting with August of 90. You indicated that at that time that was the first time that you were in his apartment, or the first time that you smelled anything?
It was the first time that residents complained about the smell.
Okay, now you had just started there in, was it correct, of July of 90?
That's right.
So you'd been there approximately 1 month when this first began, as far as somebody complaining about an odor.
Pardon me?
Okay, you started in July
Yes.
1990, and the first time you heard any complaints was in August of 1990.
Right.
Okay. I understand that he was in May of 1990. Is that when he had signed his lease that you're aware of?
I'm not aware of
Okay, that's fine.
when he got in.
Okay. So now this first time in May of 1990 that you indicated that there was a complaint, had you gone to his apartment?
Your Honor, I believe the testimony was...
Yes, after talking to him.
Just one at a time.
I believe the testimony was August of 1990. Counsel misspoke and said May of 1990.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Excuse me, August of 1990. First complaint. I don't mean to confuse you. In August of 1990, had you gone to his apartment when there was a problem with some odor?
Yes, after the complaint about the smell, and somebody actually identified his apartment as the source of the smell. So I had called and talked to him in the office and went with him to his apartment.
Okay. Do you recall giving a statement to some police officers relative to this? Sometime back after this all broke, you spoke with some police officers in '91 relative to this incident, isn't that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Back then, you'd indicated that at that time, there was, they went into room 205 instead of 213 because they thought perhaps somebody had died in there. Is that not correct?
Yes, that was an incident that is connected to we are trying to trace the source of the smell.
Okay. So after you went into 205 and found that there was nothing there, you eventually found out it was from 213. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And how'd you go about doing that?
There was a resident that identified his apartment.
I'm sorry?
A resident identified his apartment as the source of the
Oh, so
smell.
the person who complained was the one who actually said that's the area that he smelled it coming from.
The person that, the resident who told me about it lives right across from him.
Okay. And what excuse did he give at that time?
He said his deep freezer broke and he had meat in it that's getting spoiled.
Okay. Was this the time that you had actually gone in and looked in the freezer?
That's right.
Okay. So you went into his apartment, you said, Jeff, we have a complaint here, there's a problem that there's a bad odor. Now, when you walked in, did you smell it?
When I walked in, I didn't smell anything in his apartment.
You did not?
No.
Okay. And
But he had opened the freezer for me to take a look.
okay.
Uh-huh.
And as you opened it, did a smell come out at that point?
I did smell it a little bit, but not as strong as it was outside.
So it was stronger outside of the apartment rather than inside?
Right.
And stronger, what, outside rather than in the freezer?
That's right.
Okay. When you looked in the freezer, you saw packages of meat, correct?
That's correct.
And these packages of meat were just packed up in plain old wrapping paper, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, the second time, well, first of all, let me just ask you one question. How much time did you actually spend in the apartment at that particular instance?
I normally don't stay any length of time. I just went there to verify the source of the smell.
Okay.
And so after he opened the freezer to me, and I saw the meat on the top of it, I had to leave. It's just a brief moment of time.
So 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. What, if anything, did you tell him to do about it? I mean, if they didn't have any smell there at all, that you thought there was a problem, did you just leave figuring that, well, the freezer's fixed now, so the problem's taken care of?
Well, after the first encounter, we didn't smell anything till the next year.
Okay. Now, the second time I have here was indicated that it was a few months later that there was a person found in apartment 308 that had been strangled. Now, was there a complaint at that time that there was any odor in the apartment building?
Well, the person was strangled sometime in May of, probably the first part of May 1991.
Okay, so you were saying that your statement here would be incorrect, that it was just a few months after August of 90 that this in fact happened in apartment 308. I'm just trying to get a time.
I don't understand you. Please, could you repeat that?
Sure,
What page you're on?
certainly. Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you or anything, I'm just trying to get down these times correctly, okay? So there's an indication here that you had stated that the second time was a few months after the first incident, and that was, the first one was August, so we're saying a few months, so let's say maybe August, September, October, November, around that area of 1990, that there was a person who was strangled up in 308. Now, because of the fact that you had stated this in here, when you gave your statement, was it because of an odor, or were you just making a comment to the fact that there was somebody who was strangled in 308? Do you recall that at all?
The case of 308 is not a part of this case.
Okay, okay. So that wasn't as a result of any odors?
Odors don't strangle people.
Okay. The next time then you've indicated was around May 27th or so of 1991. And this is the incident right on or about the time of the Conrack Synthesis and phone incident, is that correct?
I'm not sure what it is, but I remember that is a period of time when I've started to smell the odor again.
Okay. Now, was this the same kind of smell that you smelled the first time?
Yes,
Okay. Was it heavier this time?
a little stronger.
Okay. Now, at that point in time, what did you do then? You went to check the apartment again, is that correct?
Well, I had to look for him.
Okay.
I had to look for Jeffrey and asked him what's wrong again this time. And he said his fish tank might be smelling because he had 2 fishes died. And I had asked him why he doesn't like to dump it if the fish is dead. You know, the next thing it will start to smell. Why would he have to keep them, you know?
How many tenants complained about the smell at that time?
Almost every tenant.
Every tenant in the entire building?
Almost.
Okay. Did you go up to his apartment on that occasion?
Yes, I did.
And you went in?
I went inside and I was trying to locate what is really smelling.
Okay, did you see the fish tank?
I didn't see it, but he suggested that he had used the container, the plastic containers, to empty the fish tank, and that may be what's smelling.
Okay.
So I went closer to him, and he opened up the lid of the container.
Okay, so this container was where? Was it in his closet or was it sitting out?
It was in his closet.
Okay, so he had brought you into his closet. There wasn't anything else unusual in that closet that you saw?
Well, I don't know, because there were 2 containers. He only opened one to me.
Okay, and that one that he opened, you'd indicated that at one point in time that he lifted the lid off the barrel, the pungent odor brought tears to his eyes and caused him to step back, and the smell was so strong. Do you recall saying that?
Yes, I had to tell him that must go.
So it smelled that bad that it brought tears to your eyes?
Yeah, it was very strong. I had to.
Did you say to him at the time, my God, how could you live in such a place that it smells so bad?
No, I didn't say nothing like that to him.
You didn't ask him any questions about it whatsoever?
No, but I asked him that he should get rid of that container.
Did you find it unusual, though, that you'd have something of such a nature?
Well, it was a little unusual, but I couldn't connect it to anything at the time.
Okay. How much time did you spend in the apartment at that incident?
Very briefly, about 5 to 8 minutes.
Okay. Right now, the last time that you had a problem relative to the smell was it in June or July of 91?
The smell continued from the end of May through July.
Okay. Did the smell increase? Was there a progression of the odor being worse and worse?
Well, it just remained fairly the same.
Pardon?
It remained fairly the same.
between May and July.
Right.
But you had noted a distinct increase between the time in August of 90 from the time that all of a sudden you smelled it on a consistent basis in May of 91, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, in July 91, this was when you were attempting to rent the apartment 313 above it, is that correct?
I rented the apartment 313 in June.
Excuse me, June. I didn't mean to confuse you. And that was when you yourself smelled it from the apartment 313?
That's right.
Were there any other complaints from any other tenants?
Of course, there are a lot of them complaining,
Okay.
but I already knew the source of the smell.
Okay, so was there a constant complaint of the odor between May, June, and July?
Yes.
Okay. So this time, did you go into his apartment once again?
For a third time, I didn't go into his apartment. I just wanted him to know that he's not going to stay there if he doesn't get rid of the smell.
How did you convey that to him? Did you go to his apartment, or did you put a letter in his mailbox?
I saw him in the hallway and told him.
And he had indicated to you at that time that, what? That he was going to get rid of the smell?
Well, he kept promising to get rid of the smell, but I told him that that was the last time I can tolerate it.
Okay.
And so I had to contact my office to put that in writing to him.
So, in any event, at that point in time, did you have a mindset that he was going to be evicted no matter what because of the odor?
That's what I had in mind.
Had you started these proceedings as far as through your office to have him evicted?
No, we haven't started proceedings.
But the decision pretty much had been made in your mind that
That's right.
he just didn't listen to you, did he?
Well, he did listen, but I guess he hadn't got any way to get around it.
Okay. How much time would you say from the moment that you met Mr. Dahmer to the last time that you had seen Mr. Dahmer that you had spent with him, in or out of the apartment, with him?
Well, I would say the longest time that I spent with him was when I was with him at the restaurant where he had a coffee and I had picked up breakfast to go.
Okay. In the entire time that you've known him, how much time would you say that you've spent with him in his apartment?
I haven't spent anything beyond 10 minutes in his apartment.
Okay. You said 5-10 minutes the first time, about 5-8 minutes the second time, and the third time you never went into his apartment.
No.
Okay. When did he have the alarm system put in?
I'm not sure when, but it was after the first encounter in 1980. I mean, August of 1990.
Do you have any idea, was that yet in 1990, or was that not until 1991? Do you have any basis of recollection whatsoever?
I would think it is in 1990.
Okay. You'd indicated before about the locks on the doors. Did he ask for additional locks on the doors on the outside, for the outside door?
It's not an outside door. We have passage locks for bedroom doors, and he had his own lock on the bedroom door instead of a passage lock.
Okay. Princewill, when you met with Mr. Dahmer at the restaurant relative to this business, how long had you met with him there?
I went to the restaurant to pick up a breakfast, and I saw him. And I thought maybe he was gonna go home right away. He's my resident, and I thought we could walk together. That's why I stayed to wait for him.
Okay.
He wanted to stay and drink his coffee. And then I thought maybe it wouldn't take too long, so I can wait for him so both of us can walk home.
Okay. Did you in fact walk home with him?
Well, I didn't, because he decided that he was going downtown.
Okay. So just for the time that you were with him, how much time did you spend with him? Would you approximate?
It was nearly 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes?
Right.
During that time, you had a conversation relative to a business. Did you want him as a salesman or as an investor in your business?
I had wanted him to be as an investor.
An investor.
Yes.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
Yes, sir. Now, Mr. Princewill, you've talked to a lot of police people and people from the Attorney General's office and all kinds of folks about what's happened in this case. Is that correct?
Well, as far as I can recall.
And you remember talking with Special Agents Kim Skorlinski and David Collins on August 14th, 1991.
That's right.
And on that date, do you remember telling them that the second time Jeff Dahmer would have talked to the police would have been a few months ago when someone was found strangled in apartment 308? That was on August. You would have said a few months ago.
That's right.
So when we're talking about a few months, you're talking about April or May of 1991, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's what you told these investigators on that day.
Right.
And so the few months dealt with his second time dealing with the police, not his second time dealing with you. Is that correct?
That's right.
When you met with Mr. Dahmer in the McDonald's restaurant, that was in July of 1991.
That's correct.
Do you remember if it was the first week, second week, third week?
I can't remember exactly when, but I remember it was during the period that we have got the problem of the stronger smell, and I had told him to try to clean up or he would be going.
Okay. And at that time, you wanted to talk to him a little bit about going into business with you. Is that correct?
Well, of course, even though I had given him a warning, I didn't expect that it was a really bad situation that I cannot talk to him.
Mm-hmm. And at that time, you thought he might be a good person to talk to some of your other clients.
That's right.
No further questions.
Further cross?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down, sir. We'll take a recess at this point. Court's in recess.
All right.